Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
So in today's episode, we have Wendy Sweet, who is a hard money lender. And this episode's all about Airbnb. And what I loved most about what Wendy actually talked about too was from a lending perspective. She gives some great tips on how to approach a lender, what to say, how to say it, and how to set yourself up for the most success you need.
Absolutely. And she's also an investor. She has a large portfolio of short-term rentals, and she goes into details on how to evaluate a market, what you need to have on your Airbnb, and how you should prepare for your first year on your first short-term rental.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show, where we are all about helping women create financial freedom in a balanced way. And whatever balance means to you. Andressa always says that, but
yep.
I said it first, Andressa, today.
You got me.
We're so excited to have Wendy Sweet back on our show. She was a guest previously, and we're so pumped to have her back on. Highly respect her and the work that she's doing, hard money lending, and we're going to get into short-term rentals and some really good stuff around that. So Wendy, thank you so much for coming back on our show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm honored to have been asked a second time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we always do, Andressa, we always want to get connected to all of you amazing women who are listening to us in a lot of different countries as we grow and expand our reach. We're just so grateful for all of you being on this path with us. And we like to share a quick kind of story, something that's coming up for us that you can hopefully relate to in our own lives and take something from it, whether, again, it hits one of our three pillars. Number one is real estate investing. Number two is business. And number three is self-care, because none of it matters if you're not taking care of yourself, right?
That is true. It is so true. More like the more that I guess, when you're getting older, the more that you're like, yeah, I don't care about that. I don't want to spend too much energy into that. And I feel that that's self-care when you're just like, okay,
that's where I am.
Right? You're like, yeah, we agree to disagree. Cool. I'm not going to spend much saliva because it's self-care.
It's all connected. It's all connected to self-care.
So what you have, Liz? What's coming up for you?
So on the vein of self-care, so we, taking time to do different things, adventures as a family is really important. And Matt and I are really being intentional to do that with our kids. So I asked Matt what he wanted to do for Father's Day. And he said, I want to go canoeing. I'm like, okay, I said, whatever you want to do, honey, because we live on the Delaware River. We don't live too far. We don't own a canoe, but we can rent one. I said, I'm going to set it up. But you do know the last time we went on a canoe was 10 years ago. And we literally were going to kill each other. Like when I say kill each other, it was like, he's like, I think I was going to throw you in the river.
Was it at the time that you were training for the triathlon?
No, it wasn't that time. Okay. No, we usually one day we're like, well, let's go rent a canoe. And he's like, that's a great idea, honey. No kids, prior to kids. And it was a disaster. Absolute disaster. We were in a fight the whole rest of the day. I mean, it was really bad. But anyway, so this is my memory of my only time I've ever gone into a canoe with my husband. So I said, he's like, we've evolved, Liz. We can do this. I'm like, okay, we got it. So the two of us and our two kids, right, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, jump into the canoe. And we had a great time. It was like a 3-hour tour. It felt like the, Gilligan's Island 10-hour tour, but it actually was a lot of fun. And I was processing after. I'm like, why did that work so well? And why was it such a disaster the first time? And I just wanted to share this from a team building perspective, and in both business and in our real estate investing, and just wherever you have a team. And so when we jumped in, Matt was in the back, I was in the front. And he's like, okay, Liz, I'm in the back. I'm going to steer. You don't steer. You're just going to paddle. I said, I got it. I didn't say, well, let me do that too. Or he was in charge of that because he was in the back. So he was going to have to give me the direction.
Right.
First time we did it, I was rowing. He was rowing. I'm like, no, let's go this way. Let's do this. And he goes, no, let's do this. And we just fought about like what to do. The second lesson I really got was communication. So it's like, all right, Liz, we're getting up here. I really need you to do this. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Like I didn't argue with him, which I did, I guess, the first time a lot. But I've evolved sort of, kind of 10 years later. And the third thing was really to like anticipate one another's needs. So knowing he was in that role, I really appreciated him doing that. I wasn't looking to take it over. I was just like, okay, what's next? Like it really was this like gelled process, right? obviously my daughter was crying. She was annoyed and she was rocking the boat, but we had to be on the same team if we were going to make this work in a river that's flowing down the river. So I just say that because in teams, right, there's always a lead and there's a support person, and that changes. Even working with Andressa, there's certain things I'm the lead on. There's a lot of things that she's the lead on. And sometimes when we try to no, I'm the lead, it doesn't work. And I just say that because it's just funny. I was really nervous about it and it worked out great. So thank God. But yeah.
It's funny that you and I, no matter what happened, we are always like, where's the lesson here?
Right.
We're always looking for the lesson in it, right? It's just an activity with our kids, with our spouses, with friends, family. There's always something that we can connect. And Liz and I are reading right now at the same time. Very, very, I'm obsessed with this book to the very high level. Who, not how. And everything that I'm doing, I'm just like, it's not going to be me. Who can do this? So I am just, who is going to steer the boat? Who is going to be doing that? Because I don't want to be doing it. And I want to take it to the next level. We already have support around us, but Liz and I want to take it to the next level. And how does that look like? My do not to do list. I always say that wrong. Do not do list. Whatever.
Not to do list. I got you.
Not to do list. You guys got it. It's growing and I'm feeling good about it. I thought I was like, I'm not going to like this, but no, right now, everything that I'm like, that's going to take a lot of time. Who can be in charge of that? And I go. So I love that you're first of all, you change your perception about canoeing. So we can go canoeing now. Now you know how to do
absolutely.
that.
I am a big fan now. But yeah, I was just really nervous. But yeah,
next time is camping though. You should.
No, I don't know about that. Unless it was was it called camping that has some luxuries? I don't know.
Glamping.
Yes, thank you. And I'm not even high maintenance, but it's a lot for me to think about enjoying camping anymore. But that's another story for another day. Without further ado, Wendy, thanks so much again for being back on our show. And what I love about Wendy's background is that she's not just a hard money lender and has a lot of experience in that space, but she's also an active investor. So it comes from a lot of different perspectives, which I love. And as we jump into today, tell us a little bit about, you haven't been on the show for some time, but tell us a little bit about, what brought you into, because you're lending on short-term rentals and you're also investing in short-term rentals. And that's a hot topic right now in the investing space. Everyone wants one or wants to buy a vacation rental. And, everywhere I turn, right, and people are posting things about it. So what for you, number one, from a lending perspective, got you into doing more of this, or have you always lended on short-term rentals? And then two, as an investor, as an active part in the business, what propelled you, so to speak, in getting involved in this niche?
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is address that book that you guys are reading together. It's a great book. I read it a couple months ago, and it's a great book to apply not only to your work life, but to your home life. Yeah. Who is it that you can delegate? It's the best delegation book ever. It really opens up your mind because people think, well, I'm just a one-woman show. Who am I going to be able to delegate things to? But that's not true. You have team members out there that you rely on that can help you, and you do the same for them when they need your help. So that's a great book. I'm glad you guys are reading that. I think you're going to get a whole lot out of it. Now to the short-term rentals. I love these things. I hate these things. I love them most of the days. Last night, literally at 2:00 in the morning, I got a phone call for somebody that was locked out of a house. So my problem is I haven't delegated to a VA to take care of the phone calls that are after 9:00 at night. I should be doing that. What's it going to cost me? $7 an hour, tops. And that's only when they take a call. So it's not that big a deal. Yeah. So I need to get back to my who on that. But lending wise, we lend on a lot of different things. We do lend on short term when it's a fix and flip. When it gets to a longer term loan on your short term property, We can do that, but you're going to have to produce a lease, or you're going to have to show 12 months worth of rental before we can do a longer term loan on that. There are plenty of other companies that do lend on them. Two of them that are really good is Host Financial, does a good long-term loan. There's another company called CRAM, KRAM Financial, or CRAM Capitals, one of those two. But they do, and Vizio Lending also does a long-term program. So those are the three companies right there that you can reach out if you want to do a long-term loan on a short-term rental. And the other thing too is I noticed that you're talking, everybody says short-term vacation rentals. I take the word vacation out because I think that's where people are really getting twisted up on everybody wanting one. You know, your first thought is, boy, I'd like to have a property at the beach. And the best way to do that is to buy a short-term rental so I can go and stay there. But truly, the people who are making really good, consistent money on short-term rentals are those that are buying properties in dinky little small towns that are not a destination. People say, well, who goes to those? You know, where's your people coming from? We stay booked for all kinds of reasons. Families, family reunions, funerals, and weddings, number one. So we've got that down pat. We've got people that, especially now that, you know, COVID is not the big thing that it was, people are trying to get caught up again to get out and visit relatives and do things like that. We get construction crews. They take very good care of the place that'll come in and stay for a week or two. I've got a ton of people that are building houses. They're selling their house and they have no place to live for 3 or 4 months. They'll stay. Traveling nurses. There's all kinds of people that are coming because now so many people are working from their home. So if you have internet, they can come and stay for whatever reason they want. So I have currently, let me count them in my head, 13. And all but 2 of those are within 3 miles of my office in Rock Hill, South Carolina, tiny little town. 25 minutes from downtown Charlotte, if you can pop on the interstate real quick. Downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a lot of reasons why people come here, but they're coming here for so many different reasons that I can't put my finger on just one. The thing is, when I started into the short-term rental, I wanted for people to be able to walk into one of my houses and feel like they were at the Marriott. None of my houses are high-end. They're little 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or 3-bedroom, 2 baths. You know, they're small houses. But I spend money on mattresses, and I spend money on making sure that the towels, the linens, everything is nice, good quality. And I put funky looking stuff in it, decoration wise, and they love it. Wow. It's a great business. It's a great business, but you got to get your head off of the vacation side. Now, one of the things too, I always make sure that any property that I buy will stand on its own as a long-term rental. If it's not going to stand on its own and be profitable as a long-term rental, I'm not going to buy it. I don't care how much money I'm going to make otherwise, because you never know what your city or town is going to do, changing the zoning, changing the rules to be able to do short-term rentals. You don't know what they're going to do. They'll yank your business out from under you overnight. So you always have to be able to make sure that property can stand alone.
So Wendy, for everybody that is listening to us right now, and it's hearing a lot about real estate, short-term rental, and thinking about taking a leap or putting the foot on the water, right? So what you're saying is that put the vacation aside and add more options: weddings, funerals, you know, hospitals, different items there. What are the other criteria, or how can I evaluate if, you know, this specific town or city is a good spot for me, or this specific neighborhood is a good spot for me? Besides those, is there a way that we can like put it into metrics to evaluate, or something that you were looking for when you were buying another short-term rental?
That is a great question. So buying short-term rental properties is my number one side gig for investing. If it doesn't work out as a short-term, meaning it might be in a neighborhood that I'm not comfortable walking down at 10 o'clock at night down the road in the dark, might be sketchy there, or it might be in a place where I could turn around and sell it so quickly for a great return that I'm not going to keep it there. But short term is my main focus when I'm looking at properties. So when we're looking at properties, I'm always, when I say I have partners in several different companies that I'm doing this with, but I look at everything as a fix and flip scenario to start off with. It doesn't have to be that way, but I like having that 30% equity in a house once I'm all in. And I will tell you, I have, I would say 4 out of the ones that I have right now, I'm higher than 70%. I might be at 80, even 85 in some cases, but the location is so good. And I know the appreciation is exploding in that area. So I kind of tweak it as I go, but I'm in my backyard. I know my backyard. I'm comfortable in my backyard. Mm-hmm. So I know what I can and cannot do when I'm tweaking that. As far as a matrix is concerned, you can use the same elements that you would use if you're running a fix and flip scenario, or if you're running a buy and hold for long-term scenario. You can use those same matrices. Now, deciding whether or not this property is going to stay booked, there's a company called AirBnB where you can get online and see, what's being rented. Truly, what I do is I try to book in that area. I'll look to see what else is there. One of the two that aren't underneath my nose. One is in a town called Lenore, which is about an hour and a half from me. It's at the foot of the mountain, 20 more minutes, and you're at the ski slopes. So, the ski slopes are loaded up with short-term rentals. And I wanted to, again, get back to my small town thought, where it's not just seasonal that I'm going for. I want it to be good year round. So we backed off and went with the small town at the foot of the mountain. And that particular property is easily a standalone long-term rental. Won't have any problem with it, but it's got views of the mountains. Mm-hmm. The hardest thing is finding the right cleaner, making sure you have the right person that will be able to not only get it clean, but make sure I have the right supplies, enough toilet paper towels. So it can't just be a cleaner. It has to be a cleaner with a business mind, that they want to own their island and do what they need to do, because I'm not going to go up there and deal with the property that's an hour and a half away. I also have another one that we just recently bought, and it's in Florida. Okay. It's far, far away. That's totally out of my comfort zone, but I'm in that one with my brother, and he was in my ear. Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. So I agreed. And, we are actually putting that one together. We haven't put it online yet, so I can't give you any final answer about that. But in every case, I get on, I try to book that area, and I just want to see what's available. I want to see what I can rent a property for. I want to see what my competition looks like, because I can see all those pictures. I like the way you do this. Okay, stop talking. It's my turn.
No, sorry. Because I have a quick follow-up question, and I just wanted to beat Liz on this one here. One thing that I've been doing Airbnb since 2012, more or less. And one thing that, like, I run comps, right? You always run comps. One thing that I always, like, a quick metric that I want to share is that when I am looking at it, I am looking, of course, on my PITI. So I know how much is my break even.
Sure.
Right. So it's like, how many days in a month do I need to rent this house in order for me to break even? Right. Worst case scenario. That's my personal criteria. I like to be around 10, 12 days, 13 days, around that area. If I need to rent a house 25 days in order to cover that, it's a higher risk for me, right? And you're always thinking about like low season, high season, but I always wanted to have that metric there because I'm running in a business and so that goes to my quick question. Do you have a reserve account that you leave money there for rainy days or for low seasons?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. It's always your first 1 to 2 years of any property should be a season of stockpile. I do my best to make sure that I've got cash set aside to fix things that I may not have fixed or knew needed to be fixed when I bought the property. Sometimes air conditioners go out. And so I want to make sure I have a stockpile those first couple of years. I'm really just taking everything I make and I'm shoving it right back into the property or into an account that I know I can go to and not have to dip into mortgage payments. That's the key, making sure I'm getting those mortgage payments. You use the 10 to 12 days. That's a good one. I usually go to 14 to 15 is where I'm looking. So when I'm looking at other properties, I want to see that they're booked at least, 50% of the time. And if I'm comfortable with 50% of the time, then anything I get off of that is gravy. And 50% is really low in any place that we would have, but that's my bare minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. In terms of the types of properties that you try to buy, you said earlier about the fix and flip scenario, right? Mm-hmm. So in terms of like value add, and that's where my head goes, and you get the better deals, the more value you have to put into the property, right? So, and that's kind of been our tenure. We don't have any short-term rentals, but just from a long-term rental perspective, it's the same type of idea, like the classic BRRRR strategy, right? So for your short-term rentals, is there a certain amount of work that you like to be able to do, or is it a different strategy? I'm curious, because again, I really do come from more like the long-term rental mindset, if you will. Or are you looking to just, make it look a little nicer, and it's a slight value add? What's your strategy? Do you have a strategy from that perspective? And if so, is it a ballpark? Is it an amount of work that you have to put into it? Does it have to do with the square footage? All those sort of things. I'm curious to get your mindset around that.
Well, again, it depends on where the location of the house is and what kind of shape it is. I really do base everything off of that 70% theory. Even if it's a house that I'm paying $10,000 for and I need to put, 60 in it, that's okay, as long as that 70% theory is still working for me. That's really what I'm looking at. I have a couple of houses that I've had to take down to the studs. And done everything for them to fix those up. And then I have the majority of what I do though, like if I'm looking at a house and the cabinets are okay, I won't replace those if I'm turning them into an Airbnb rather than flipping it. I try to save a little cost there because I know that if I paint them and I decorate this place right, it doesn't matter that the cabinets are not brand new. I do try to go ahead and get granite on top of everything because for me, that's a cheap, hey, wow, this is really nice look. I always do a backsplash just because it's a cheap, really nice fix. And I always make sure that the bathrooms are, vanities are cheap to replace. Toilets are cheap to replace. I want to make sure that if I have to even regrout the tile around the tub to make the tub look better, I'll do that to save money rather than replace the whole thing like I would if I were fix and flipping it.
Sure.
So I do those kind of, I do fix it up, not quite as nice for a short-term rental, if other than if I were flipping it. I'm going to trick it out if I'm flipping it. But if I'm short-term renting it, I know that I can make up with decorations, if that makes sense.
But that's great insight, because it sounds like it's a nicer upgrade than your typical rental. And again, depends on who you're renting to. Let's put that out there, obviously.
Yes.
But, if you're thinking about, multifamily that's serving workforce housing, middle income America, you're not going to put granite in. We don't put granite in our units.
Right.
You want to make it nice, but it's not, granite would never be a choice we would go for the kind of buildings we buy. But that's a really good insight into, those touches, which matters, right? In your business, short-term rentals, more so than. On
the appliances. If I'm doing a short-term rental, I'll do the scratch and dent all day long. I can't do that if I'm fix and flipping it. I'll do the scratch and dent on appliances, and I won't go as high end on the appliances as I would on a fix and flip.
So it sounds to me, Wendy, that you found like a sweet spot that is working, right?
Yes.
It's not like this $1,500 per night. It's also not the $50 per night or something that I don't know how people make that work, but I don't know. My cleaning lady is $150 where I am, right? So it's
that's
I need to make it work based on that. But I want you to talk about this. Like, it sounds that you found your sweet spot and you were repeating it.
Yes.
Talk to me about the commonality among the houses. What else? I want to get your secrets out.
The outdoor is really important, especially where we are, because, our warm seasons are pretty long. In the Carolinas, it's pretty long. So I always make sure I have a gas grill, the plastic Adirondack chairs with a fire pit in the backyard, whether it's in the yard or whether it's on a patio. I make sure that the landscaping it's minimal, but it's perennial. I don't do annuals. I want things to grow back without me having to worry about it. And I make sure that the grass is cut like it needs to be cut. That the yards are clean, that there's no cigarette butts anywhere. We have spots, buckets, really cool buckets. My co-host on this has found some really cool, colorful buckets at Target. And we put sand in them and stick them on the front porch or on the back porch, wherever people will tend to go and pop a squat to smoke a cigarette. So the commonality is the outdoor. That's really important for us. But the other thing too is I always try to make sure that I can sleep 8 people. So I like having a 3-bedroom because it's 2, 2, and 2. And then I can get 2 on a fold out sectional couch that I buy on Amazon. They're about $650 and they're well made. But they pull out into a full-size couch. So I like to be able to sleep 8 people. 6 is my minimum. But 8, at least 8 is what I'm looking for on something like that. Another thing is I will put a king-size bed in a room if I can, but I like to do 2 doubles in every room if I can get 2 double beds in there.
Nice. In terms of pricing, are you looking for like the specific average and like price of the property and also price per night? Is there a sweet spot there that you're looking for?
Well, in our area, I want everything to be between 100 to maybe 150 a night. It really depends on the location, where the location is and how large it is. Now, as far as purchase is concerned, I think the highest valued one I have at this point is $253. That's the after repaired value, of course, $253. I try to stay, of course, in the Carolinas. This is where our pricing is. I try to stay where the after repaired value is between $150 and about $200. That's a common market for us. That's a tough price point because there's not a lot out there available in that price point. But, a few that I bought have been, where I thought they would be in the 2s have turned out to be in the 3s. So I just sell them. Just made it easy.
Well, that kind of brings to another idea, question that I have is sourcing deals, right? Finding the opportunities, and it's obviously it's not like a secret, right? With short-term rentals and as your growth, especially in the Carolinas. I mean, I know we have buildings there as well. I mean, it's a growing region of this country. So how have you mitigated that in terms of finding opportunities? What's been some of your creative strategies? What have you done that's worked, for you in terms of sourcing deals?
Well, I'm a lender, so they kind of fall in my lap. It's really hard for me to say, do this or do that, because I do get a lot of stuff that just falls in my lap because of my real job, which is lending. But one of the things that me and all of my partners have done is we try to coddle every wholesaler we know. And one thing that's made it really easy is we tell them, we're buying within 3 miles of this spot right here. Anything you have, bring it to me. And we're constantly sending them emails, checking up on them by phone. When we're going to any investor meetings and we see them, we are doing everything we can to let everybody know, here's our buy spot. This is where we like. And they know that if it's even a little bit close to being worthy, we're going to buy it. So we just make it known. That's really the only thing you can do is put the word out there. Don't keep it a secret. And then anytime, I'm always asking people to give me referrals too. Do you know anybody that might be selling that property? Anytime I see a property where the grass isn't being kept up, or there's junk out in the front, or the neighbors are a really good opportunity too. Anytime we buy one, I invite all the neighbors, come on and look and see what we've done. Do you know anybody else in the neighborhood that might be selling? That's been really, really successful for us as well. So we don't keep it a secret what we're doing and what we're trying to do. We want to tell everybody we possibly can. I'm not buying lists or anything. So.
Yeah. And I love that, Wendy, because it's the fundamental of finding deals. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could go back to our first property, and that's what we did. That was 17 years ago, right? So if you're like, oh, what's the new strategy, right? There's always new things. There's always multiple ways to get deals. But I think I'm only going to speak from a woman perspective, because that's who we work with. That's who we serve, is that, and I don't know about everyone else, but we can overcomplicate things. I know me personally, we can, like, what's the metric, and it's like so many women we talk to all the time. It's like this overcomplication, where what you're saying is literally like, what are you doing and who can you tell about it?
That's right.
Often. I mean, this is like, literally, if you said what's one of the fundamental ways to find deals, it would be what you're saying. And it's how we grew our business, and finding multifamily deals is exactly
right.
What you're saying. So, but it takes energy, it takes intention, and it also takes not hiding out. And that could be overwhelming, especially if you don't have any short-term rentals yet, or you have one. Sometimes we don't take ourselves seriously. I know I was talking to my husband about something, and I'm like, well, I don't know if we've done enough of that to share that. He's like, you've done like did you? I'm like,
you done one?
We have to have a PhD in things sometimes before we talk about it. And I think we need to stop that, especially if we want something. And it seems to be a thread that a lot of women we have on the show. They're just like, yep, I'm this. Bingo bango. I'm a short-term rental investor. What do you have for me?
That's right.
Too, because you are.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I heard this tip. I don't know where. I hear a lot of things, but if you are not sure, book a weekend in one of the busiest of your busiest competitors and stay there, so you will know the ends of everything that's going on, the welcome message, everything that's going on inside the house, what they have, what they don't have, everything else. So you kind of look at it. So Wendy, from a lender perspective, right? When you get requests or people are sharing their short-term rentals, you mentioned that either they have a lease over there, or they have the reserve for it. Tell me why you say no to short-term rentals. what are the criteria that you use that you are seeing is like, that is not working and I can't land on this? Tell me what exactly.
Well, history is the biggest thing. And I can lend short-term for a short-term, the fix and flip part or the fixed part of short-term rentals all day long. But I just don't have a program that will accept short-term leases that's worthy. I've got a company that'll do it for 8.5%, which is kind of ridiculous. I've got a company that'll do it for 4.75, which is much more easy to live with on that kind of rate. So the problem is, what I'm finding is there aren't a lot of lenders out there that are doing short-term because they don't understand it. Their first thought is, well, it's a vacation rental, it's seasonal. What happens if everything changes? Then it can't stand on its own. So they won't even consider it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they also believe that a lot of people doing it are not experienced and they don't want to be the first ones out of the gate to give it a shot. That's why I mentioned those 3 that I know that are doing it, because it's really hard to find somebody that will accept the short-term rental. And they even those 3 do the short-term rental loans based on different things. Some of them will base it on what the market rent would be, not for a short term, but what the market rent would be. Some of them are going to base it on the last 12 months of what they've seen come in. But Host Financial is the best one because they totally get it, and they'll base it on what AirDNA is telling them.
So do you think it's a matter of time where people get more used to Airbnb and this scenarios that we're facing? Because nowadays, like back in the day was weird, right? Saying, yeah, I'm going to be somebody's house. I'm going to go inside somebody's car. But now it's like Uber and Airbnb, it's as everybody knows what's going on. But it seems that from a lending, quote unquote, conventional lending perspective is still a little bit behind. Do you think that even like the not private, not hard money lenders, but on the conventional lending, do you think that they're going to start opening up to that, or we still are a couple of years behind?
No, you're not going to see conventional lending do that, because we have just seen conventional lending pull back on long-term buy and holds. They went from, 12% of their or even 15% of their portfolio being investor loans, and they're knocking it down to 7.5%. They're really trying to get out of that second home market and that investor market, because they don't understand it. And it's sad, but that's the way they look. So these companies that I just mentioned to you that are doing the short-term rentals are non-qualifying loans. And what you are seeing, though, are more and more companies that are doing these non-qualifying loans that are really getting fancy and with what they're doing. They're getting into the nitty-gritty. They're starting to understand how these loans work, and they're offering better deals, better rates, longer terms. Now they're in the 20 and 30-year terms, where before they were treating it like a commercial loan where you had to renew it every 5 years. So, and the rates, it's amazing that how low the rates are now, that they're doing it under 5. Being able to find that kind of a loan on non-qualifying under 5% is pretty darn good. The other issue that we have been running into, but you're going to see that change, is what the value of the property needs to be. Like, they don't want to do a loan less than $200,000 or less than even $100,000. So when you go to do that financing, if you're like in the sweet spot that I'm talking about in my 150, it's tough to make sure, there's no way I'm going to meet a $200,000 minimum on a loan amount on something like that. So that's getting better too. It's only going to be a matter of time. Hopefully it's a short-term time that they're going to be able to get better and better with what they're doing. They're not there yet, but I'm seeing it change. Every week I see it change.
And just, Wendy, quick follow-up question to that. The women listening, what can they do to set themselves up for the most success when it comes to connecting with these companies, even the few that you just recommended, or in the case, like you're saying, if they do have a more traditional fix and flip, you're a great opportunity for that. And other kind of, non-traditional, if you will, lenders can be good resources for that. Do they need to reach out to them to say, what's your criteria? Do they need to have just have these 3 things before you call, like a package? Like, what would you say to a woman listening to this that's really serious about doing, a short-term rental, and wants to set themselves up for the best success when they have that initial connection, right? Because we know lenders are getting flooded, right? Flooded, I'm sure. I would imagine. I'm not a lender, but I would imagine they're getting flooded with calls right now because of where the market is. So, differentiate themselves, as well as just like kind of getting to the core and really setting themselves apart from all the other hundreds of calls that these lenders are getting, especially the ones that are a little more non-traditional. Right.
So I can tell you the biggest fear that most lenders are dealing with right now when they're talking to customers is somebody that's new and has no experience. That person frightens a lender, because our first thought is they've been watching Home and Garden TV, or they've been watching the Great Vacation Rental Show, and they want to kick in and give it a try. And unfortunately, that's true for a lot of people. So there's a couple things that changes my world when I'm talking to somebody. The number one thing, get your credit score up at 680 or higher. It doesn't have to be at a 680 to get it done, but because people will go down to 650, we go down to 650, but really you need to be at a 680 or higher on your credit. It's smart to invest in a credit repair company that can help you, because once COVID hit, FICO changed the way that they're measuring your scores. Remember when you should only have your credit card at about 30% of the limit? Well, now it's at 50. They want you to have it up at 50%. So, which is completely different than it used to be. So those things are changing. Make sure you're talking with somebody that knows what they're doing on that. Make sure that you have money in the bank, that it's in your bank, not somebody lending it to you or giving it to you. And money is 6 months worth of payments. You want to make sure you have 6 months worth of payments in the bank. That'll make a huge difference. The other thing is if you have no experience, get involved with investor groups. This is a great example of what you need to be doing. Work with just, even if you're just reading what's going on in a blog, you need to be wrapped up with other investors that are doing what you want to do. You need to understand the lingo, because I'm talking to somebody in 2 minutes. I know whether or not they know what they're talking about. If they're saying things using words that don't really match, investor lingo, then I know this person's brand spanking new, and they haven't been hanging around people that know what they're doing. So invest in yourself. That's a big thing. It's so important to be a member of a group like this. Maybe get a coach, or even if it's a group coach, so somebody that's coaching a group of people. Invest in yourself and understand that what you learn, it's better than any college you could go to. Absolutely. Because you're going to learn stuff hands-on. And when you learn, you're with other people that get to know you, understand what you're doing. And that's a great way to pick up other leads as well. Because, they're in that area. I don't deal in Pennsylvania, but I've found these leads in Pennsylvania. Do you want them? You help each other. You're better in numbers when you're helping each other.
I always go back, who, not how. I am like a big fan of learning and experience, having shortcuts. So if I'm looking at something that I don't know, I rather build a relationship and vet a partner and go together. So that partner and that first deal, my goal is to really if I make something great, but my goal is to learn a ton of it, because that's going to save me time and save me money. I'd rather pay for that than for my mistakes. So in this case, do you see a partnership from if I am brand new in real estate, in short-term rentals, right? Partner up with somebody that already have 5, 6, 10 years of experience and in a portfolio that you can say, yeah, my team, here's my team. You'll look at this differently as a lender?
Absolutely. All day long. That lets me know that there's somebody that's going to be giving them good advice, rather than this person just wallowing out, wondering what to do, making really bad decisions that don't make sense for what you're trying to do. And another thing I think that's really important too is keep an REO sheet, real estate owned sheet. Even if you've sold the property, keep the properties on there and just list it as being sold. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that you have all of that on one piece of paper. So when they say, what kind of experience do you have? You've got that to provide, showing them that even if it was 20 years ago, I want to see that you had property 20 years ago.
Sure.
It will really make a difference, because that little bit means a lot than somebody just coming in brand new.
Yeah. Something we always recommend to women, and I probably need to recommend this more, is ask a bank for their personal financial statement. Literally, then recreate it into an Excel form. We have an Excel form that's our personal financial statement at this point. We're not waiting for the bank to send it to us. We're like, nope, here's our updated personal financial statement at this point, right? So, but to start building it, so if a bank asks for that, you're not filling out theirs. No, I have my own. Here it is. And whether it's 1, 2, 10, doesn't matter. But it really shows you're more street cred, right? It shows you're serious.
Plus you're organized.
And you're organized somewhat, right?
Yeah.
No, that's where we're organized, very organized. Because that's where they want to vet you as a borrower. So this has been awesome, Wendy. So appreciate all your great insight, and want to make sure you share where the ladies listening can learn more about you and the great work you're doing.
Well, you can reach me anytime at Wendy@carolinahardmoney.com. You can also, let me think of this new website. I just bought it. It's called sweetshorttermrentals.com. Brand spanking new.
There we go.
This afternoon, it will be up and running.
All right.
So sweetshorttermrentals.com.
There we go. And all this information you guys can find on our show notes. We're going to transition to our 3 fabulous questions. And the first one, Wendy, is what's the most transformational book you ever read?
Well, that would have to be The Richest Man in the World. The Richest Man Who Ever Lived by Stephen K. Scott. It's an awesome, awesome book. It is a faith-based book, but it's also based on business, and it's really, really awesome.
Awesome. The second question is, what's the most powerful routine that you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Exercise. It is, because it opens my mind to be able to think. I do some of my best financial thinking when I'm lifting weights.
Look at that. Mine is in the shower.
That's when I remember stuff. Oh, man.
Right? Last question, Wendy, is which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Oh, my gosh. There's such a ton. I would have to say my mom. She raised 5 kids and worked in real estate and, dealt with my dad, which, any husband's difficult to deal with, and kept her sanity throughout it. She's 83 years old and still rocking and rolling.
Awesome.
Love it. I love it. Make me laugh, Wendy. That's why we have you on the show. No, you're appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for taking time to be on our show again. Excited for all your stuff that you're up to, and just appreciate your being a wealth of knowledge and a resource for the women in our community. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Wendy. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.